Peace, peace. This your host, Selah-shalom. And this is the Cosmon Teachings in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible, Oahspe. And the topic of discussion today is addressing the dietary law within Owaspe. Now in the Bible, in Genesis, it speaks about how man was told to eat the fruits, the herbs, when God tells Adam that in the garden. Although that's an allegory tale, it has some significance, being that God instructed Adam to eat the fruits and vegetables. Now in the Oahspe, it has sections where it speaks of the dietary law, and it's consistent with man being herbivorous so he can maintain a spirituality, because the more you become carnivorous, it takes you away from spirituality. Now, in the book of Jehovah, chapter 4, verse 11, it states, according to the condition of these different plateaus and atmospheria, whether they be near the earth or high above, so shall the spirit of mortals take its place in the first heaven. According to his diet and desire and behavior, so shall he dwell in spirit on the plateau which he or she hath adapted him or herself during his earth life. So this verse is just showing you how the atmosphere or the heavenly realm is arranged based off your diet, desire, and behavior as you lived on earth. So as you cross over, there are realms for these different plateaus for the impure and the pure spirits. Now, book of Sentences, chapter 3, verse 27, it states, Jehovah said, from the trees, the fruits, the flowers, the grains, and the seeds and roots that grow in the ground, have I created a ceaseless harvest going upward into the atmosphere, which shall be the sustenance of the spirits of men and women and children, newborn in heaven. But whosoever feasts on flesh on earth shall not find spiritual food in heaven, but he or she shall return to the butchers and eating houses where flesh is eating, and he or she shall feast on the atmospherian parts thereof before it is rotten. Be ye guarded of them, lest they engraft themselves on mortals, feasting on their feast. Now, book of the Ark of Bond, chapter 25, verse 19, it states, above all things, thou shalt teach them to keep holy and pure the body created withal. For herein lies health and strength. To be foul is to be sick, and to be sick is to be foul. Behold, the heathen and the adulterers, the feeders on flesh and blood. In the time they boast of health, they stink as a carcass. Their flesh is congested and puffed up, their breath like a kennel of dogs. How can their souls be pure, or their understanding clear? They have made themselves a festering stink house for spirits to dwell in. Now, book of Judgment, chapter 18, verse 11, it states, verily I say unto you, you have not fulfilled the first law, which is to make clean your own corporeal bodies, or physical bodies. Because ye have stuffed yourselves with carnal food, my holy angels cannot approach you. Neither can your understanding approach the place of my kingdom. So here this verse is showing you that the first law is to keep the body pure. And by doing so, the holy angels of the Creator can approach you and enlighten you with information. But if you don't keep the body pure, then you will not receive information from the angels of the Creator, and you will be inspired by impure angels. Now in the book of Judgment, chapter 13, verse 24, 29, and 40, it states, verse 24, O that thou had not contaminated the corporeal part by the flesh of the beast and the meat of his living creatures. This is as one of the stones that covereth up thy soul and blocketh the way to the upper grades. So here this verse is showing you that by the consuming of meat or by eating flesh, that's blocking you from reaching the higher realms of spirituality. So Owaspe is just showing you how Your diet has even a part to play within your afterlife. Verse 29. If thou hast been a gross feeder on flesh, thy spirit will seek to linger in the atmosphere of gross feeders still dwelling on the earth. The slaughterhouse, the cookhouse, and the eating house shall be the place of thy spirit's resort. Verse 40. O man, that thou would put thyself in the way of thy God, to put away the uncleanness of the body first, and then the uncleanness of the spirit afterward. So again, it's showing you how if you feast on meat, your spirit will go to an impure realm after death in an atmospheric area where meat is dealt with. Like the slaughterhouses where they slaughter meat, and the sweat and vapors that go into the atmosphere will be the food for newborn spirits who are meat eaters on the earth. Oahspe showed you the gradual continuation of this. Now, Book of Inspiration, chapter 12, verse 10 through 16, it states, verse 10, if thou wilt be gentle like a lamb, and non-resistant and delicate and docile, so thou mayest obtain great knowledge, feed thou upon herbs and fruits and cereals. Verse 11, and thy blood shall be pure and cool, and charged with food for thy spirit in peace and love. Verse 12, but if thou shalt be ferocious like a carnivorous beast, then thou shalt feed upon flesh and fish. And thy blood shall be hot, and thy spirit shall be stirred with passion, and anger, and contention, and tattling, and war, and jealousy, and love of vengeance. Verse 13, for whatsoever thou chargest thy blood with shall be charged upon thy spirit. So here again is showing you how the diet has a lot to do with your spirituality. So if you feed on flesh, fish, beef, chicken, meat, period, your spirit will be stirred up with passion, anger, contention, war, jealousy. But if you eat fruits, herbs, vegetables, the natural things of nature that we're supposed to eat, your spirit will be non-resistant, gentle, calm, and relaxed. And the proof of this is in the animal kingdom. When you look at the animals, when you look at the carnivorous animals, they're more ferocious and aggressive. And when you look at the herbivorous animals, they're more in a peaceful state. Verse 15, from thy own blood shall thy spirit be inspired, even according to what thy blood contained. Verse 16, as through corpor thy corporeal part is nourished, so through the gaseous atmospherian part is thy spirit nourished. So again, it's showing you how the spirits nourish off the atmospheric parts while we nourish off the corporeal parts. Showing you the correlation. It's showing you how your blood is charged with whatever you eat. So if you eat carnivorous foods, your blood is going to be charged with the behavior of an animal. Because the animal of the blood is uniting with your blood, which is creating the contamination and creating the animalistic behavior. It's through the blood uniting with your blood which create the contamination. Now, Book of Inspiration, chapter 13, verse 14 through 16, it states, because thou made thyself carnivorous, the fault is thy own. I placed before thee the herbivorous animals and the carnivorous animals, and I gave thee eyes to look upon them as to their behavior, whether ferocious and destructive, or peaceful, patient, and docile. Verse 15, and I spoke unto thy soul, saying, look, judge for thyself as to what thou shalt eat. Behold the order of my creations, and the result upon all my living creatures. And it's through their diet which brings upon their behavior. And if you look at the herbivorous animals, the more peaceful and non-resistant. And if you look at the carnivorous animal, the more in a savage state when it comes to that eating. Verse 16, hence thou art accountable unto thyself, and responsible unto all the world for having made thy corporeal body as thou hast. So it's showing you that you are completely responsible for what you make your body. So if you eat meat and you start coming down with all these sickness and diseases, you can't blame nobody but yourself. It's up to you to make the change and no one else. Now, Book of Inspiration, chapter 17, verse 5. And when thou puttest away all unclean thoughts and all unselfish desires, and seekest to obtain wisdom, and to learn how best thou can help thy fellow man, behold, my angels of light and wisdom come to thee, and by virtue of their presence, which thou seest not, they inspire thy soul in the light of the Creator. So it's showing you here in the Oahspe with these couple of verses that I just spit. It's showing you that the diet has a very important part to play in this realm and in the life after death. Showing you that if you're going to feed on flesh, you're going to have to deal with the sicknesses that's going to inhabit you while you're on earth, and then you're going to have to deal with the situation even after you cross over. This is why the Most High now is telling you to become herbivorous, or try to maintain a more fruit and vegetable, a more alkaline diet, so you won't be stuck in the impure realms after death. Now, to end it off, in Oahspe chapter 1, verse 16 it states, behold, the seventh era is at hand, which is the present time. Thy Creator commandeth thy change from a carnivorous man or woman of contention to a herbivorous man or woman of peace. The four heads of the beast shall be put away, and war shall be no more on the earth. So this verse is saying that it is a decree and a command by the Creator that in our present time, that the mortal race is going to have to shift from a carnivorous diet into a herbivorous diet. That's the only way we're going to get closer to the Creator and to His holy angels, by becoming herbivorous. If we remain carnivores, we're going to be inhabited by evil spirits, impure spirits, and the whole host of Satan that you could think of. But like on a pH scale, the carnivores are dealing with asceticy, which is the domain of Satan, which deals with all type of sickness and diseases. So we must become herbivores so we can deal with alkalinity, which deals with no sickness and diseases in that environment, which is a holy environment, which is a godly environment. So even in Oahspe, it's telling us in this day and time to become herbivores. And this is probably why we're having all these problems with the meat, mad cow disease, and all these different infections and diseases that's coming through the meat. These are the signs of the Creator that it's time to let go of the carnivorous diet, or you're going to die off from sickness and disease by eating it. The sickness and disease from the carnivorous diet is going to become so severe that your kids are going to become born malnourished, dysfunctional. And we can't continue to have offsprings being malnourished and dysfunctional by our ignorance of our diet. So the Most High got a decree out right now to change man from a carnivorous diet to a herbivorous diet. The choice is on you. And Oahspe is a new revelation from the Creator through the holy angels, through mortals, to reveal the importance of the dietary law and the importance of how it coincides with the life after death and the life while we're still alive. So we in the age of information, so you better get as much knowledge about these things as possible before the lights turn out. And with that, I'd like to say peace and blessings. Catch you on the next documentary. Shalom.